every fan. Get sports betting tips from the best in the game. Available on the Odyssey app and our sister station 650 The Bet.
Sports Radio 610 presents Seth Payne and Sean Pendergast.
We coming to H-Town. Let's get the work in, man. Let's go.
Great day, great day. Oh, give me some juice, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
Got him. Astros win it 6-4. They have taken the first two games from the Tigers. 8-5 last night, 6-4 tonight. And Blummer, the Astros continue to play great baseball here at Dyken Park.
There you go. There you go. And they continue to play baseball inside Dyken Park. Remember the end of the 2023 season where the home field was basically like going on the road? They couldn't win at home. They are playing really good baseball at home this year. Noteworthy for those of you thinking of spending an afternoon out there today. There's a good chance that you come away happy as they go for a sweep against what has been thus far the best team in the American League, at least record-wise, the Detroit Tigers. Good morning, everybody.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Maybe they can show up. I'm going to be honest with you, Sean. Around about the sixth inning, I was sitting there just stewing in my own juices thinking, oh, last night was great, but why is this such a boring baseball team?
Yeah.
Why? And then boom, they go ahead and score 6 runs.
They hit you with a barrage of non-home runs. Yes.
See for Yiner Diaz?
Yeah.
And his soft contact RBIs?
That's it, man.
I guess not.
That's it. Thing that I liked about last night, by the way, welcome in, everybody. Payne and Pendergast. How are you doing this morning, my friend? How you feeling?
I feel great.
Yeah.
I feel incredible.
Yeah,
I feel ready to go.
Same.
I want nothing but the big man lineup for, I'd say, 37 minutes tonight.
For the Rockets? Yeah.
Yeah. Listen. The strategy for the Rockets has just got to be this. Yeah, I know you can't play the Adams-Şengün lineup all the time, but there's a certain element of playing the Warriors where you just got to pray to the basketball gods that the threes don't drain. So just do that.
Yeah.
Just be pious as hell. It's an oxymoron. All day long, and just play your big men, eliminate the paint, and just pray. Pray that they don't hit their threes.
Well, whatever the game plan. This is an elimination game. This is truly Steven Adams, because I think some of the element of them, playing the big man lineup for just spurts is Steven Adams probably can't go 35 minutes a night,
Shoot him up.
That's what I'm saying. This is an all-hands-on-deck situation.
That's right. I can imagine the doctor, because they have to write scripts for all this stuff. It's not the old Wild West where doctors are just in there with a burglar mask and 2 syringes, one in each hand, shooting people up.
Yeah.
But the script would be healed. Yeah.
Healed.
Yeah. No, he old.
Oh, he old. I think they said healed, like Buddy Healed. I'm like, what about Buddy Healed? He old.
Well, you just pull a Tanya Harding on Buddy Hield.
There you go. Yeah. So we'll get to the Rockets, but the Astros last night, that was good. This was the second straight game where they fell behind in this game, 2-0. And this was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, really at any point in the season up until this series for the most part. And if they fell behind 2-0, they fell behind 2-0 to the Royals twice over the weekend, and those games ended, wait for it, 2-0. So this was good to see them kind of, midway late in the game, A, bounce back and take a lead in this game, and B, pile on a few extra runs, which they actually needed last night because Josh Hader came in and did his 2024 act, coming in a game where they're up 4 runs and he gives up a 2-run homer. And
I know, and I just hate – I'm at the point this season, especially because the pitchers have been – the salvation for the Astros so far, that I'm like, I just kept reminding myself, that's all right, man. He's been cool. He's been awesome. Cool. We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
This is just, I do feel, it's one of the weirder things in baseball. I do feel sympathy for closers who come in non-save situations because those guys are just wired to be raging bulls. And you come in this situation where you don't have to be a raging bull.
Yeah.
And you can, I think it feels, and I know it's not the case, but it feels like 95% of the time they turn into Ferdinand the Bull because they're just they're not familiar with this situation.
Yeah,
but he figured it out.
Yeah. Well, Josh Hader's probably the only one sitting out there in the bullpen hoping that they don't score more insurance runs. You know what I mean? Like you get paid based on saves. Like they measure you. That's your value to the team. You come in with a 3-run lead, it's a save situation. You come in with a 4-run lead, and you're basically just playing out the string there. So I was a little surprised they used him with a 4-run lead, given they've got a day game today. Did they really Did they need to use Josh Hader last night up 6-2 in the ninth inning? You know what I mean? Like I'm guessing Hader is not available today, probably.
Yeah, I think they're just. Oh, yeah, I would imagine not. They're just pacing him out. I think that you get to the spots in the schedule where you feel all right, and you just want to keep them sharp.
All right,
so,
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and you're also facing the tie. Like, I know it's a non-save situation, but it's almost like, all right, there's some teams where a 4-run non-save situation is different than other teams with a 4-run non-save situation.
Yeah, maybe so.
Have some respect for the opponent.
Maybe
so.
I guess so.
Sorry, I like AJ Hinch, Sean. I didn't realize you thought he was a bum.
No,
he
was a bum. I like AJ.
I appreciate everything that he did for this organization.
They're not, but they're a lot like they're kind of a mirror image of the Astros. It's not a great offensive team, so it's neither here nor there. And maybe he is available today. I don't know. I haven't looked at what his workload's been the last few days, so maybe he is available today too. Who knows?
The Gusto, I think, was another big positive development. Is that he was really, really struggling in the first.
Yeah.
And the first, if you guys missed the beginning of the game, Kerry Carpenter's up at the plate. He gets hit in the foot. The ump misses it. Kerry Carpenter is furious. The AJ Hinch says, Listen. You getting on first base is fine and all, but as Sean Pendergast mentioned, we're not the best offensively right now.
Right.
So they don't challenge it, and then Kerry Carpenter hits a home run.
Yeah, no, I know it was pretty funny. Because Callis's call, I think we're going to see if we have it here. Callis's call was pretty funny on that because as the ball sailing into the right field bleachers, he's like, we don't have it, Ben? Okay. Literally as the ball sailing into the right field bleachers, like, well, probably would have been better off getting hit by the pitch right there. Might have been better than this solo home run we're about to give up on the first batter of the game. It was good.
I've always been a little bit surprised that somebody who was born well after Kerry Carpenter, the singer, died, was named Kerry Carpenter. I don't, I'm like your last name's Carpenter. Surely you've heard of Kerry Carpenter.
I think it was Karen Carpenter.
Oh,
I think it was
close enough.
Maybe her friends called her Carrie. I don't know.
I would stay away from any of the Karen or Carrie derivations after Kerry Carpenter.
Same way we want the Texans to stay away from Jalen's and Jaden's for the next couple of drafts. That would be good.
Yeah.
So the Astros win last night. They go for the sweep today, and they're a hot baseball team right now, man. Things are starting to straighten themselves out here much earlier than last year. Like that, I see all these numbers from last year, and as kind of boring is the best word to put it. As boring as this team has felt for most of the year, they are 16-13 right now. They are. We probably should have bumped in with the celebration song. They're 3 games above 500 for the first time this season. Thank you, Ben. Probably should have bumped in with that. 3 games above 500, baby.
3 games above 500, 1 game back of the Mariners. The best teams in the AL right now are the Tigers at 18-12.
Yeah. Oh, who? The team,
the Tigers,
team whose ass has gotten whooped the last 2 nights.
Yeah, and I'll remind you, for those of you who've forgotten, the Astros are 16-13, and the Yankees are 18-12 as well. So the very, very best, the cream of the crop in the AL. Both of them only have 2 more wins than the Astros right now. If the
season ended today, the Astros would be sitting on a wild card round series with the Cleveland Guardians. Yeah. Both 16-13.
I'll tell you what, credit to the A's, scrappy underdogs that they are, playing in a single A park somewhere in Northern California.
15 right now. Look at that.
Yeah, they're 2.5 games back from the Mariners right now. The AL West is all gumbled up.
And the Angels, I guess that 7-3 start by the Angels was a little phony. I'm just looking at the standings right now. They're 12
we
and 16.
Haven't even checked in on the Angels in a while.
Remember that? Remember back in the day, in the first week of the season, like, the Angels, Mike Trout. Oh, he's hit 5 home runs. They might have something. 12 and 16. They suck and always will suck. Sorry, Artie Moreno. So that was good last night, man. Good to see. Excitement level, nervousness level, how we feeling about this Rockets game tonight, my friend?
Let's see what happens. That's where I am with them. I'm in a let's see what happens mode, and I'm trying like hell not to be dried up emotionally on the inside, and yet I'm fighting against it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just waiting for them to do something that shows me, hey, all right, you know what? Those blowhards, Payne and Pendergast, Pendergast. I hate.
Yeah.
No, I can't believe those bums were acting like Jaylen Green isn't one of the best basketball players who ever lived just because he routinely scores single digits in the playoffs. I want to be proven wrong tonight, Sean.
The Jaylen Green contingent that you talked about yesterday, the very vocal Jaylen Green, I have not seen them this series, at least recently. Like the hardcore Jaylen Green supporters have kind of Homer Simpson their way into the hedges. You know what I mean? Right now, it's hard. His performance, that goes to show you. Like if you just put your hand over the rest of the series and just looked at Game 2 where he scored 38 points and he was incredible. If someone had told you just looking at that game out of these 4 games, like, oh no, everybody's very angry with him over the rest of this series, you'd be like, God, he must have had to have been terrible for those other 3 games. And the answer would be yes, he's been god-awful those other 3 games.
Yeah, and yesterday we spent a lot of time saying that because one of our listeners had said that he's like a James Harden Jr. or something in the playoffs. And we said, look, that's actually very, very disrespectful to James Harden because despite all James Harden's flaws in the playoffs, particularly in games 5 through 7, Jaylen Green hasn't even come close to looking anything like James Harden in a single series here so far. Yeah. Including that 38-point game. Yeah, that was a great game. But the James Harden, when he was with the Rockets, never once in a playoff game scored in the single digits. And then James Harden would at least do us the honor of, in his awful playoff games, the turnovers would be in the first quarter and the first 4 possessions.
First 3 possessions of the game, yeah.
So, and then James Harden goes out and has a classic bad James Harden playoffs game last night, and Jaylen Green is still much worse than James Harden in the playoffs.
Yeah. It's to me, it's a clunky comparison because he only played 4 games. Harden's been around for 13 years. That'll be interesting to see if Ime Udoka does anything different tonight. If he, look. Undeniably, the best basketball has been played for this team when Steven Adams has been on the floor. The thing is, Steven Adams, the ceiling of the time that he's been on the floor is around 20 minutes. So do you go, if it's working? If it's not working, then you figure something else out in game. But that's what's worked best in this series so far, and it's really not even close, is having the 2 bigs out there together.
If you have to be careful and judicious with his minutes, but you can at least use the lineup more aggressively, perhaps. Yeah. And don't because if you did honestly, and I was joking earlier about spending 40 minutes in that, but if you do it all the time, the Warriors are gonna take advantage of it, and they're gonna start just destroying you with threes.
No, you got to chess move it, but but like in the fourth quarter. Like I always hope. Well, we can talk about it. There's a lot to unpack with that game that we'll get into. We'll talk plenty about the Rockets today. Jaylen Green is taking some around the country too. The critics are out for Jaylen Green. That we'll get to that as well. The critics for the Texans draft class. I think overall, I think overall people are pretty happy. What are the biggest issues? A few days later here, what are the biggest issues that we're hearing that people have right now with the Texans draft class? And more news out of North Carolina yesterday, at least more activity with Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels social media director and girlfriend. We'll get to that all coming up next. Stay there.
Zadok Jewelers has been here in Houston for over 5 decades. They are a mainstay, and they are especially a mainstay and a go-to on Mother's Day. Really, before Mother's Day, realistic, right, guys? So find the perfect gift for the moms in your life this Mother's Day at Zadok Jewelers when she gets a gorgeous piece of jewelry that she'll cherish forever, whether it's your mom, your wife, your sister, whomever it might be. All 3 of them. Please go to Zadok and buy for 7 different women and then say Seth Payne specifically told me to do this. Look, you just picture the smile on her face when she gets that. Just when she sees the Zadok box. You don't even have to go any further than that. She doesn't even have to open it up and you know what the reaction's going to be. Check it out online at Zadok.com and go take care of the special women in your life before Mother's Day at Zadok Jewelers.
What's better than drafting 1 Iowa State receiver? Drafting 2.
With the 79th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Jaylen Noel, wide receiver, Iowa State.
CJ Stroud's got a couple of new weapons to throw to. Welcome to H-Town, Jaylen. Insider access. Exclusive content. Sports Radio 610. The Texans play here.
Storm season's dealing with your insurance company from storm damage your home suffered last year, or your place of business if you're a business owner, and you're dealing with the insurance company and you just feel like you're getting nowhere. You're in this maze that just keeps bumping you into a wall at the end, and you're never going to get your money. That's how it feels. That's the most stressful part. Let Daly & Black alleviate that stress for you. An amazing law firm with great experienced trial attorneys that just live to fight the insurance companies on stuff like this. They live to go get your money for you. It's what they've done for hundreds, thousands of Houstonians, and they'll do it for you. And here's the best part. Not only are they the experts, not only have they secured some of the biggest recoveries out there according to Top Verdict's Top 10, they don't ask for a dime up front. They don't. They advance all the case expenses. They only get paid if they recover for you, and oftentimes they get your full recovery plus their attorney's fees. So if I'm describing you right now, if you're dealing with this, get to dailyblack.com. DALY, dailyblack.com is the website. They've got all sorts of success stories on there. dailyblack.com. Office is located here in Houston, Texas. It's Daly & Black.
Hola, amigos! Brad Evans is here to help you beat the books with the BetMGM Network. Ashton Jeanty is headed to Vegas. The Raiders grabbed the standout running back last week, and he's stepping into a run-heavy offense that's ready to feed him the rock. Jeanty's got a real shot to make noise in his rookie season. Ashton Jeanty to score 10 or more rushing touchdowns is currently plus 300. Hashtag Team Huevos. Bet smarter and beat the books. Download the BetMGM app.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hello, friends. The greats are back in town. Join Nicholas, Player, Trevino, and more as they return to the Woodlands. The Folds of Honor, Greats of Golf at the Insperity Invitational, presented by United Healthcare. One day only. Saturday, May 3rd. Be there.
Hey, it's Sean Pendergast, my friends at the Men's Tea Clinic. You guys know my story. This is my 5-year anniversary with the Men's Tea Clinic, and I've been going there for my testosterone optimization for the last 5 years. But they've got a long menu of male wellness treatments, and I'm speaking specifically to those of you that are looking to lose weight in the new year. Go to the Men's Tea Clinic so you can talk to them about their amazing weight loss solutions. Hit your goals in the new year and make Men's Tea Clinic the catalyst to do that. Find the location nearest you. 5 around town. It's mensteaclinic.com.
What's up, baseball fans? It's time to swing big on your bets this season. Step up to the plate with an odds boost token from BetMGM, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. No opt-in is required. Just log into your BetMGM account to receive your odds boost token. Then place a bet on any MLB game and activate your token. If your boosted bet hits, you'll score a bigger payout. No matter the showdown, BetMGM is your betting home for baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. Must be 21 years of age or older. This U.S. promotional offer not available in Mississippi.
Payne and Pendergast is driven by West Point Lincoln of Sugarland on the Southwest Freeway. Exit Kirkwood and take the first U-turn at West Airport under the giant American flag. Live from the Mokaram Injury Lawyers Studios, Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast.
All right, Payne and Pendergast with you on top of the hour. We'll get to what are they saying about Jaylen Green. Jaylen Green's been a big topic nationally. What are they saying? Is the criticism valid? Is it fair? Kenny Smith even had advice for Jaylen Green. It was pretty good. We'll get to that at 7 o'clock today. We'll do headlines at 6:45. You can text the show, 713-572-4610. Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line. A texter points out before we get into the Texans and the leftover breadcrumbs from the draft talk this week. Someone said that, and I've lost the text because we're getting buried under Rockets and Astro and Texan text. Someone said something to the effect of, nobody's talking about these torpedo bats anymore. That was an interesting 15 minutes of fame that they had.
Right. I can't even remember. It was sometime in the last few days. An opponent for the Astros, the bat broke and it rocketed straight back toward. Like it broke at the lower part of the bat, and the barrel of the bat rocketed towards the screen. And if it had hit right, could have gone straight through the netting and into somebody's eye. And it looked like it looked like it was a torpedo bat.
Okay, yeah.
I felt like that was a good metaphor for what's happened to the torpedo bat.
Yes.
Over the last few
Shattered
weeks.
in half. Yes, yeah.
Right.
It
has. I mean, look, they have improved offensively somewhat, at least a little bit. Hey, Yiner's not using one. Dubon.
Is anybody other than Dubon using one that we know of? He was the only one that I heard.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, he was the only one that I heard.
Pretty much an afterthought.
Yeah, I saw people asking, like, why aren't people talking about the torpedo bats anymore? Because the Yankees didn't hit 9 home runs in a game since in March in opening weekend.
Listen,
yeah.
A lot of baseball writers like to act like they're the guardians of actual serious sports writing anymore, and they're the real true journalists. They were using torpedo bats last year,
right?
And these guys were all asleep at the switch. So it took that huge deluge of torpedo bat by the Yankees in that one game for your vaunted baseball writers to even be clued in on the existence of the torpedo bat.
That's right. So biggest issues with this Texans draft class. We've talked a lot about the positives of the class, and I think overall the feedback is I would say skews positive. There's certainly graders out there this draft that have issues with it. It's hard to have a really elite grade on a draft when you're not in the first round. The Texans traded out of the first round. I would say the biggest anything offensive line is what's going to move. By their behavior as a team have shown that, we realize the offensive line was a major issue last year. So we're all in agreement, team, even if they're not saying it outwardly, team and fans and media, that the offensive line was a big issue last year. That's not breaking news. The question is, did they do enough to make people feel good about where the offensive line either is or is going right now? And I guess the biggest criticism is the interior was the jankier part of the offensive line last year.
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything in the draft unless Ursary becomes a guard, which I'm not expecting. They literally didn't do anything in the draft to address the interior of the offensive line.
Right,
yeah.
And other than they're very interested in Tyler Booker or Donovan Jackson, the two guys that went before the Texans picked in the second round, as well as Gray Zabel. So like all of those three guards that were really intriguing were gone before the Texans picked. I think I guess the part where some people are torn is whether the Texans should have been more aggressive in trying to trade up for them. I'm cool with the Texans not overspending for an interior offensive lineman in the first round because I don't think any of them were slam dunk, oh yeah, this is the kind of interior offensive lineman that should go in the first half of the first round. So I think even if the trade value was correct, it would have felt a little bit like reaching for best player or like drafting for need instead of just kind of taking it as it comes to you. So I'm cool with it. But as we saw yesterday, the Astros pick up an offensive lineman off of waivers, Jake Andrews.
The Texans. Sorry, yeah, you said the Astros. That's it.
Yeah, they did too. The Texans picked up an offensive lineman off of waivers, Jake Andrews, who was a high fourth-round pick for the Patriots a couple years ago.
Yeah,
and it's not something to get overly excited about, but I think it's just evidence that they're going to keep bringing in competition. And I believe Andrews would have played for Cole Popovich at Troy State. So there's a little.
Oh, is that where he went? Is that where he went?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I had just seen that he'd gotten on the field in 23, and he missed all of last season. Am I right about that?
Yeah. And he had a torn meniscus. He was early in the 4th round draft selection in 2023, and the upside might be that it's a guy that was injured all of last year. Cole Popovich has a connection to him. And the Patriots, as teams with new coaching staffs do, sometimes they're just kind of rotating guys that they want in and what have you. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that all of a sudden Juice Scruggs is getting cut because of Jake Andrews or anything, but they're gonna keep trying to bring in competition here.
Yes, yeah. If guys are available, they'll find them. Here's Nick Caserio following the draft on the team not landing a guard in this draft.
Yeah, we'll look at what the opportunities are. I mean, again, offensive linemen come in different sizes. You have guards only, you have center only, you have tackle only, you have tackles that can play guard that can play tackle. So, I mean, honestly, the more you can prove, like we talked about, Titus never played guard before. So, and we didn't know how good he was going to be until he went in there. And honestly, he played at a pretty competitive level. So, I mean, there's no list that says we need to go find a guard like we talked about last night. I mean, if someone can tell me what a need is, or what drafting for need, or what finding a specific player. I mean, if you play one spot, you better be really good at it. If you play multiple spots, it creates more opportunities for you. And we'll put the 5 best guys out there, whenever we need to play in September.
Okay, I think this is where I think people get a little bit frustrated with Caserio at times, because that's a little bit Southern Bellish. I don't even know what that means. Drafting for need. You're looking around it's like you've got a need on your team, and you draft a guy to fill that need.
He said that he said that exact thing a couple times during draft weekend.
I think most GMs look at drafting for need. It would mean that you're also, and I get that. If you routinely say, well, this guy's really a late 2nd round caliber guy, but we're going to take him at the top of the 2nd round because we need this guy, then you're ignoring all of the randomness of the draft. And then if you get in the habit of doing that, then you end up really overdrafting a lot of people. I think that you still come out of this draft where the other Southern Belle part of it is where Caserio has said in the past, it's a narrative that the offensive line isn't playing well. Mm-hmm. They're just fine. Mm-hmm. There's other people too, and then you get rid of the three of your starters from last year.
Right after the
fire the offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Yep.
So and then lo and behold, going into the draft, hey, all the idiot pundits and us fans are saying, boy, their real big needs are at offensive line and wide receiver. And then lo and behold, you take 2 wide receivers and an offensive lineman with your first
it's quite
3
the
picks
coincidence.
in the draft.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I would think that we need offensive linemen and receiver. Oh, those fellas?
Yeah.
They just happen to be the guys we took. Mm-hmm. Where they took? Oh, you're silly. You're silly.
Do you think if they had taken, I love the music. If they had taken Tate Ratledge instead of Ariante Ursary, Ratledge went 9 picks later to somebody. I can't remember what team drafted. Tate Ratledge is the guard. Tate Ratledge is the guard out of Georgia that loves to kill things. Got a mullet, loves to hunt, wears a lot of camo.
Right. And he's also got
late in the
sweet mustache.
Yeah.
People really like that mustache.
I don't think people are down on Ursary, but I do think people are concerned about the lack of interior O-line help.
Well, this is the thing. Ratledge ended up going to the Lions. That's what really. The Lions have drafted incredibly well over the last couple.
They've had a really good offensive line too.
Half their starters have come from the last few drafts.
Yeah,
and they've got they coached their offensive line up really well. They were a much better offensive line than the Texans last year. Yeah. So I think that's where, if you look at the Texans moved up to 16. From where? From
16th in the round, in the 16th in the 2nd round. Yeah, they moved up from 58 to 48.
Right. So Tate Ratledge goes at 57.
Yeah.
So you look at, the Lions ended up getting a guard that a lot of people really like. The Lions have been good with their offensive line, but the Texans just simply liked Ursary better. That is, I think if the Texans were drafting specifically for need, they would have taken one of these guards in the 2nd round, more so than trading up for Ursary. Yep. So they liked Ursary and was higher on their board than Tate Ratledge. If the Texans had taken Ratledge with the 16th pick in the 2nd round, then I think people would have been more bullish about that, just because they know he's more of a household name too, because he played at Georgia.
We got to touch on this Jordan Hudson, Bill Belichick thing going on in North Carolina right now.
Yes.
Bill Belichick's girlfriend, who runs social media for the North Carolina football program, and who reportedly was just a menace during his 60 Minutes, his CBS Sunday morning, was interrupting it repeatedly, left the room for 30 minutes at one point while the interview was being recorded. This was an interview that was supposed to be to promote Bill Belichick's book, and it turned into the interviewer asking about their relationship. She took great umbrage with that. And it was a circus, and all the reports out of North Carolina are that this is indicative of how it's been with her behind the scenes. This is just the latest story of what's been going on with her.
She comes off as a lot of people, Sean, that I know you have seen, the PR rep for an athlete. Sometimes you're in an interview with an athlete, and kind of the old give and take, and the deal is that, you're having an interview, they're there to promote something, but you just have conversation about stuff, and along the way you sprinkle in some promotions of the book. But sometimes these PR people are like, no, talk about the book right now. No, talk about the book.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying.
Yes.
It's really annoying. And they do a disservice to the athletes and coaches.
Well,
because it makes the coach or the athlete look like a pain in the ass.
Right, and she's like the worst version of that, according to all these reports. And so she yesterday on her Instagram, with Taylor Swift's "Look What You Made Me Do" playing underneath it, she put music on this post. She posted a copy of an email that was reportedly sent by Belichick to everybody involved with this whole project, like this promotion of the book, including the publishers and the PR people and everything else.
Yeah.
That was outlining all of Belichick's concerns with doing interviews like this.
Right.
That a few people, Albert Breer, picked out little nuggets. They did sort of the forensics on the email, and they're like, "No, Belichick didn't write this.
No, 100%.
He would never say this, or this.
He would never say this, and he wouldn't do some of the frankly idiotic, just the basic composition and use of the English language stuff that was done in this email. Yeah. And honestly, her posting this email with the Taylor Swift song playing underneath it is just incredibly hilarious, because this was not a good look, and she's acting like, here, boom, I'm doxing myself.
Yeah. Well, she promised too in this post, full statement coming later today. So I sat there with a big bucket of popcorn all day, looking at my computer, waiting for this full statement to come up. Ted and I even texted last night because Ted is waiting like I am for this full statement. Ted Johnson, Ted Johnson, former colleague, former Patriot that played for Belichick. And this is a huge topic up there, as you can well imagine.
What's your biggest thing from this that made you feel that, okay, this is coming from Jordan Hudson?
I would say that they call, well, one, like the little thing is that he called it the title to the article, not the headline to the article. Just like
she's almost as if that
Belichick knows it's a headline, not a title.
They were arguing with the article that they were addressing in this. The headline was "I bleeped up, I effed up," talking about a mistake in the Super Bowl.
Yes,
and that all the listen. This is about him, and this is a story about him. This book is about him winning 5 Super Bowls, and then saying that we need to try to have control of the headlines with some of these articles. And again, this is like a rookie PR person that just doesn't understand the way media works. There's no way in hell Belichick wrote this.
The other part too in here, Seth, that I look at this, and by the way, just to put a bow on it, the statement that she was promising after this has not come out yet. Yeah. I'm guessing somebody put a muzzle on her and said, look, stop. It might be Belichick himself, like, who's starting to hear things from people like, hey, Bill, this is a bad look for you. I would say the other thing in this email, and again, this email is reportedly, it's signed BB at the end, so it's portrayed as being by her as being from Belichick. I think it's from her going, telling all these people, all the PR people, this is how it's going to be. The part where it says, as the leader of an organization that grew from a $500 million franchise to an $8 billion organization that played in 10 and won 6 Super Bowls over 25 years. First of all, the $8 billion organization do we know that that's what they're worth? Like, that's the highest an NFL team has gone for is 6 right now. You know?
And it does not sound like anything Belichick at all would have focused on.
Yeah.
That, like, hey, we increased the valuation of this company.
He didn't mention Robert Kraft at all in the book. Why does he care about the value of the organization? You know?
Right. Yeah. Then we want this to be the focus of the interviews. Like, that's just the other part that annoyed me, first and foremost, was, and this is a classic young person that doesn't know how business and such works.
Yeah.
The email is in bold blue font.
Yes.
You psychotic weirdo. What the?
You know what? That's
very, very serious email that you're sending to the team is in bold blue font. What are you doing?
That's a horrible job by me. That should have been the answer to your question. What was the dead giveaway?
I knew as soon as I saw it. I was like, what the hell is this?
What was the dead giveaway? Like, Belichick even knows how to change a font on his email. Oh, man, that's funny. All right.
The other thing, too, was Belichick in this letter used the term clickbait, talking about there's no way in hell Belichick knows what clickbait is.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I don't think there's a chance in hell. If there is, there's no way he'd actually use it.
Dude, I need this statement to come out, though. I've been waiting almost 24 hours for this damn statement from her.
You know what I also liked is that she or he did the equivalent of air quotes when you're not supposed to use air quotes.
What'd she use?
She said, "We can expect that the interviews and podcasts," with quotes around them, "that will supposedly drive the sales will also come from similar samples such as this."
They are interviews and podcasts. Yeah, that Belichick didn't write this thing. All right.
He's got to get rid of her, man.
No, he doesn't. Stop it.
Bill Belichick, this is not what your legacy needs to be, Bill Belichick.
It's the best thing that's ever happened to us and him. No, don't dump her, Bill. Please don't.
I need a horrible docudrama on Lifetime to come out about this that paints her as the hero. It needs to specifically make it look like I was taken in by this older man and he put me in a position I wasn't ready to do.
Real quick, and Ben, I promise, real quick. The picture of Belichick holding her up with his legs, like her in the Titanic pose,
like she's an airplane, like you do with a kid.
Yeah.
When you get on your back and you put the kid on your feet and you lift them up.
Did you happen to see the video of that surface? Not the still shot, because the still shot looks like, wow, Belichick's in good shape. He's holding her up there. Look at that. The still shot, he is shaking. Like Mr. Burns would be shaking, trying to hold her up. The legs are shaking. I'll send you the video. The legs are shaking and the arms are shaking. I'm like, oh, my God, this is so sad right now.
That's too bad, though, because, he kind of does have the physique of a lot of those male college
He's very barrel-chested. Like, he's looks like he can
but a lot of times, those guys are beefy but kind of dumpy, too. You know? A lot of them are jacked, but some of them are kind of dumpy but still strong. That's Belichick.
Headlines. Astros, Rockets, Texans make a move. We've got some headlines for you coming up next.
Hey, are you going to have enough money when you retire?
and Pendergast with today's headlines, presented by Men's Tea Clinic.
Got him. Astros win it 6-4. They have taken the first two games from the Tigers. 8-5 last night, 6-4 tonight. And Blummer, the Astros continue to play great baseball here at Steichen Park.
6-4 the final score, as you heard Todd Callis say right there on the call, Space City Home Network. And the Astros, 16-13 on the season now, game back at Seattle. They'd be a playoff team if the season ended today. For as bad as the offense has been, they are 16-13, and they are in a way better spot this time this year than they were this time last year. This time last year, they still weren't even at the point where they were 12-24 yet on the season. We're 29 games in. They've already won 4 more games than they won through 36 games last year. So they're in a much better spot. I think, Seth, from what we've seen the last, really going back to the end of that Royals series, it's only 3 games, but it's the last 3 games. They've gone 7 runs, 8 runs, 6 runs. It hasn't been a huge power surge. There have been some home runs in there, but they've just gotten to start to hit a little bit more consistently. Yeah. Some of the guys that you expect to be hitting, who are going to hit at some point, Christian Walker and Yainer Diaz specifically the last couple of nights. I mean, Walker had just a rocket double to center field last night. Like, if they just get a few guys hitting each night in the lineup with the line.
In the way the pitching is going is right now the Astros have the 5th lowest ERA in Major League Baseball. This time last year, Hunter Brown looked like he might not even be a good AAA player.
Literally had like a 15 ERA this time last year.
And now he's emerged as one of the best pitchers in baseball so far this season. Yeah. But then they lead the league in WHIP. So that's the feeling you get. I'll take a low WHIP over a low ERA any day because that's just it feels dominating. They just don't put guys on base,
right?
Largely. So that's very much sustained them. A lot of it. I guess the biggest questions about whether you can sustain it or not are that you still don't know a whole lot about guys like Gusto and Wisniewski. But so far it's been very, very promising.
Well, and we'll see. And that dovetails perfectly into the other bit of news with the Astros, because maybe you don't have to rely on guys like Gusto and Wisniewski if Lance McCullers comes back.
Oh, play it, Ben.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Give it to me more. Jaylen Reed would say that's 6. Let me give you the news. McCullers is throwing a bullpen. I have tomorrow. I think I can't remember if I put this in there last night as tomorrow, if it's today. I'll double check. He's throwing a bullpen here at some point in the next 24 hours or so. And then his next start could be with the Astros. He's put together some really good rehab starts of late. He's up into the 70s now in terms of number of pitches in his starts. This is great news.
Let's do it.
Today.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do the bullpen today. We're going to do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wait, today is Wednesday, right?
Today's Wednesday, yes.
Yes, he's doing it today.
Is he doing it today? Okay, good. Yeah, so I typed that last night. So, this is great, man. This is really good news. I know I'm already bracing myself. Can't count on Lance. He's going to get injured. How many starts till he gets injured? I don't know. But all I know is that they're not rushing a ratchet bad version of Lance to get into to get onto the big league club. He's not This is the thing. He's not throwing 71 bad pitches in these starts. You know what I mean? He's not pain-free throwing 71 pitches, but they don't look good. Like, the shape of his pitches are good. He's happy with how he's throwing it. The velocity is around where it needs to be. This would be, I'm a sucker for a story like this on teams that I like and people that I like, and I like Lance McCullers. I can't wait to see him get back with the Astros. I think it's a really, really cool story. If and
Forrest
when it
Whitley didn't do us any favors when it comes to living down to expectations, because Forrest Whitley came up, looked pretty damn promising when we saw him, and now he's injured again.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, left knee sprain. Whatever. Rockets Game 5 tonight. We'll talk about that more at the top of the hour. What's the world saying about Jaylen Green's performance so far? We'll have that for you. As we mentioned in the previous segment, the Texans pick up an interior offensive lineman off waivers from the Patriots. Jake Andrews is his name. He's got ties to Cole Popovich, the Texans O-line coach, from the year that Cole Popovich spent at Troy University. Andrew played. He's been in the league a couple of years. He was out all last season with a meniscus injury. Other news in the NFL, the Commanders are building a new stadium on the site where the old RFK Stadium is. For years, the Commander fans have hated the site where the FedEx Field, where it's in Virginia. There's a lot of a lot of PTSD that Dan Snyder had a lot to do with that stadium, I would imagine. When like when you break up with somebody and all the places you used to go with them, you're like, well, I can't go there anymore. I hate that person, and it reminds me.
It's almost like their stepdad's old mansion. Or something.
It reminds me.
Their mom was a money grubbing hoe who married some rich dude that had a creepy old mansion, and then you had to live there for 20 years.
That's RFK.
And now it turns out like, it turns out they lied to you. Your dad's actually been alive all these years.
Right.
You can go back to his house.
Yeah, and it's a better version of your dad. We're going to knock your dad over and build a better version of him. That's what this is. So we're RFK, the old RFK Stadium, where all the great memories of Redskin football was. They're going to build it. Here's why I think this is interesting. It's a $4 billion project, which includes retail, restaurants, parking. The Commanders, who are owned by Josh Harris, who's a hedge fund multi-billionaire, owns the Sixers, the Devils, a soccer team, many, many other things. They are ponying up $2.7 billion of the $4 billion for this project. The Commanders are. And I just find that interesting because we're heading into a stadium decision era here in Houston. And,
John, you sound like you work for a team. You don't say they're expecting $1.3 billion of public money.
Well,
you say, hey, Washington's going to pay for $2.7 billion of this.
Fair. The reason I bring that up is that the question is always going to be if we build a stadium here, what's the split on this thing? If I'm the McNairs, how am I looking at this? That's why I bring it up. I'm not a Josh Harris stan. I just want you to know that, even though I did get free tickets to a Devils game back a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I know. And there's two different ways you could have phrased that. You could have said, the Commanders are paying for $2.7 billion of this. Or you could say, hey,
sorry,
the Commanders are looking for...
Sorry, I wasn't sticking up for big government, okay?
No, you wouldn't be sticking up for big government if you said $1.3 billion. You'd be saying like, hey, look, boy, they want $1.3 billion from the government on this.
Oh, the government,
the
the taxpayers are paying the other 1.3. That's what I meant. So
yeah, I'm accusing you of sticking up for big government and waste. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I just think I find that story interesting, just because this is where the Texans are headed in a direction where something like this might be an option.
The Texans have a higher valuation, at least according to CNBC, than the Commanders. Mm-hmm. And these things are all just estimates and what have you, including they do claim that the Texans have a higher EBITDA, the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Profit.
Just think of it as profit.
Yeah.
They do claim that the Texans have a higher EBITDA than Washington.
Running a tight ship over there. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. See what happens with that. Ultimately, a lot of these teams sell a sliver, not a lot, but the new approach has been sell a small part of the team to raise some cash, and there's your portion of the project, which will generate billions of dollars. Also, by the way, Frank Ross, John Carroll University Hall of Famer, named yesterday. I'm going to give him an acknowledgement right now because I like Frank Ross. Good job, Frank Ross. It was a cool video on the Texans' social media of that last night. They've got a lot of John Carroll guys in the building over there, so that was a big deal over there yesterday.
Let's make it a controversy later, equivalent to whether Shedeur Sanders' jersey should have been retired.
Oh,
you stick up for Frank Ross, and I'll say, what the hell is this? You're putting him in alongside whomever else.
You'll poke holes in the Frank Ross, John Carroll Hall of Fame debate. All right, no debate here. Jaylen Green has not been good in this series with the Warriors. What are they saying about Jaylen Green outside of Houston? Kenny Smith had some advice for Jaylen Green. How good is this advice? Should he take it to heart tonight against the Golden State Warriors? Game 5 tonight at Toyota Center. Early start, thank God. 6:30. It's tip-off tonight over at Toyota Center. I want to tell you about Prize Picks, and as long as we're talking about the game tonight, let's fire up.
KILT-FM HD2 Houston. Insider access, exclusive content. Sports Radio 610. The Texans play here. An Odyssey sports station.
Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast.
All right, Jaylen Green has been abjectly terrible in 3 of the 4 games in this series. That is undeniable. The Rockets are 1-0 when Jaylen Green is really good. They are 0-3 when Jaylen Green is really, really bad. I'm not saying there's a direct correlation. At least a couple of those losses, maybe all 3 to a degree, were very winnable games for the Rockets, especially the last one where you had the ball at the end of the game and Alperen Şengün couldn't hit a jump hook from about 12 feet out, and they lose the game 109-106. But Jaylen Green is catching it from all directions right now, Seth, and some of that comes with expectations. He had a really good season this year. He was a borderline all-star on a team that was a 2 seed, and it looked like he was figuring a lot of things out as the year went on. You pointed this out earlier. I can't remember if it was on the air or off the air, but I think it was off the air. You and I were talking about this, and you pointed out, like, his numbers are largely the same this year as they were last year. But if you watch the Rockets, which I know you and I both do, like, yeah, there was a lot more context to his numbers this year in terms of winning.
He didn't make improvements this year
Correct.
or anything. It's just, but to try to keep everything in context, he did it more consistently, but it's not like he took a giant light years leap ahead.
Yeah. He's more dialed in defensively. That doesn't show up in the box score, so I'll credit him for that. But he's on this team to get buckets for sure. Stephen A. Smith, this was his message to Jaylen Green yesterday on First Take.
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm glad you brought up Jaylen Green. Yeah, the camera's right there. Do you not recognize that you're an NBA player? Do you not recognize that you're supposed to be the face of the Houston Rockets franchise? 7 points in one game, 9 points in another. I'm looking at him last night, 8 points in this game. The one game where he had 38 points is when Jimmy Butler went down early and got hurt. My God. This is Jaylen Green, athletic, talented, young. We understand that. But I'm talking about a disappearing act. There's an APB in Houston out for this brother right now. I mean, they got everybody looking for him. Where the hell have you been? Fred VanVleet is a champion, okay? But he's about Molly's height. Where's the help? Where do you go just leave him out there like that? And Şengün, that's why you had to call his number, him or VanVleet. You're supposed to be relying on Jaylen Green. He's going to get himself traded out of Houston.
That may be. He may get himself traded out of Houston.
And this is the biggest thing is that you can't make any excuses for him. Oh, the Warriors are doubling him. Oh, the Warriors are blitzing him. Right. So you either facilitate, but you first and foremost do not turn the ball over every other possession. This is, if you're going to be that guy, then you find a way to produce still find a way to put the put the ball in the hoop to the tune of more than single digits, but B, just don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Don't just like a deer in the headlights just fall apart. Yeah, this is what comes with if you're a bona fide, genuinely impressive NBA player, you're going to get doubled. You're going to get blitzed. Deal with it.
That's the most disappointing thing to me about Jaylen Green in these playoffs, in this series so far, is that I can deal with him just missing shots. Like, I can deal with it if, you know what, he has a game, he goes 4 for 15, and he's 1 of 9 from 3, and he's missing open shots, and that's just how it goes. Or he's just missing, not even threes. Like, he's getting good shots. They're just not going in. He's panicky in this series. He's losing his head in this series. When this team, when the tidal wave is starting to go against this team, he's the player that's supposed to calm things down and go get you a basket. And he just dribbles. He just spazzes out and dribbles into traffic and starts spinning around and gets a shot blocked, or he turns the ball over. That's the most disappointing thing to me is he's a young player, but I mean, he's been in the league 4 years. Like, I get it. This is his first postseason, and I understand this team is his kryptonite. He's not played well historically against the Warriors, but there's not playing well, and then there's just doing things that are just like losing your head, like doing things that are stupid. I'm not saying he's a stupid player. I'm saying in this series there are several times where the Rockets are trying to stem the momentum, trying to pull the momentum back to their side. And possession by doing silly things like dribbling into traffic, picking up his dribble. And that's the most disappointing part to me. It's a panicky bad box score. It's not just a conventional, he's missing shots and this thing will turn it around. I don't know. I think there's as good a chance that Jaylen Green is benched in the second half of this game tonight as there is that he comes out and scores 30 again, you know?
Yeah, and I guess the biggest, if the Rockets can't pull off a miracle and become a completely different team for the next 3 games, but where I would have been most wrong in wanting the Warriors and not shying away from it as opposed to the Grizzlies is that, all right, Jaylen Green's probably hurt his trade value some amount. How much? Yeah. Who knows? Whatever it might be. But it's very much a display of where he is not yet as a young, and he doesn't have the excuse of being young anymore. You know,
No.
it just the making progress several seasons in the regular season, but then falling apart in the playoffs like this. People are going to really, really wonder what his complete upside is.
Well, he's not cheap anymore either. He's still got 2 years left on his deal after this at $30 million a year on his contract, and he is a player who, while we're pointing out the flaws in his game here and the series that he's had, he is a player that if he puts together another couple good regular seasons is going to be a guy who's going to be wanting a big contract after this one. So those are other things that whoever trades for him, or things the Rockets, quite frankly, have to think about if they wind up keeping him.
Like Şengün and Jaylen Green, et cetera. But they have the older veterans. But then there's who it is. All right, Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks and those guys are not your classic alphas on a basketball team. Like Dillon Brooks don't get me, I'm not calling him a punk by any stretch of the imagination. But when it comes to being the best player on the team, who's the alpha and everything runs through them, like maybe Jaylen Green ideally would be that guy right now. He's not. So if he goes into a different environment where people aren't looking at him as even a potential alpha, maybe it's a much better version. That's where I think some of the trade value is still there.
I think Dillon Brooks is playing at the peak of what you can expect from him offensively. You know, like he's knocking down mid-range turnarounds. He's been their best three-point shooter this year, and he's averaging like 14 a game. Like, you know, like this is the ceiling of what you can expect from Dillon Brooks, and I don't expect Fred VanVleet to go 8 for 12 from 3 again in this game. Jaylen needs to pick it up tonight. There's no question. Here's Charles Barkley, TNT, on Jaylen Green.
But I said before the game, before you can become a great player, and Amy talked about it, you got to do other stuff to help the team. Like, he gets in a fog when he's not scoring, and he's just out. Think about that. This is a guy who we were bragging about all season, said it's going to be close on him making an all-star team. He's had single digits 3 out of 4. He had 38 one game, and he's had single digits the other 3 games. That can't happen. That cannot happen.
Yeah, but for a young player.
No, he's not that young. He had 38 a game ago. You can't go from 38 to 8.
You're right.
You can go from 38 to 20 single digits.
Yeah, Chuck nailed it. He can't disappear. He's getting paid a wage now where you can't disappear in playoff games. You know, like he was the number 2 overall pick. This is a team that the Rockets have wanted, I think, both behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to be the face of the franchise right now, and he is 75% abysmal in this series so far.
Right, and I'm glad that Barkley checked Shaq on the young player stuff, because this is his 4th year. He's played 307 games in the NBA, plus these playoff games. This is not...
Well, and to Charles' point, don't score in single digits. Like, if he were...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
young players, you know what? I want to have the kind of young players that are like, well... He scored 40 points, but he really needs to spray. He needs to make it less about himself.
Yeah.
Can I have that kind of a young player?
Right.
Like, but you know what? He scored 30-plus points in each of the last 4 games, but he's got to be a little bit more dialed into to spreading the ball around. Give me that kind of young player.
Yeah, like I thought Charles nailed it. It can't be 38 down to 9 for the other 3 games. It's single digits. Like it's 75% of the games in the series, single digits from your leading scorer. That's not going to cut it. Kenny Smith, champion, Clutch City, 2-time champ with the Rockets. I thought this was interesting. Kenny Smith had this to say, acknowledging that he's not what Jaylen Green is in terms of the tools that Kenny Smith had as a player. But I thought this was maybe some interesting sort of quasi-advice for Jaylen Green.
Because you guys had a dominance that may be different. But for a guy like myself, or a guy like that level, I always said you have to come to the arena knowing that you're going to do 3 things, regardless of what's going to happen. So my 3 things was, okay, I'm going to pressure the ball. I'm going to push the ball from free throw line to free throw line as fast as I can. And when I don't have the ball and it goes inside, I'm sprinting to the open shot the three. So every night I just knew those three things could be consistent. And I think that when I look at Jaylen, I'm not sure he has much more offensive things in his tool belt than myself or guys that I'm talking about. But he should come to the arena and say, these three things I'm going to do, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, I don't think that's horrible advice, especially if your shot's not going down. You know,
right? And you look at Jaylen. You know what? I'm glad Kenny brought that up. Is okay. Kenny wasn't a guy that was the dominant player that Shaq or Barkley was. Obviously, very few NBA players are.
Right.
You almost wonder if Jaylen Green, if Jaylen Green had been drafted 20th overall instead of 2nd overall, that might have been the best thing for him. Because it's just, give me something I can rely on.
Yeah.
Give me something that, if he'd had a mindset of, okay, I got to do something that these guys can trust and that they know I'm good for and that I can lean on. And instead, it's just a big cloud of question marks any given time that he steps out on the court.
That's why you can leave Amen Thompson on the floor when he's not playing well offensively. He does, 3 or 4 other things at he defends at an elite level, and he does a few other things at a pretty high level. That's why I don't think Amen Thompson's not going to be benched at the end of games if he doesn't have his offensive. Multiple people on the text page. Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line. Speaking of the 20th pick in the draft, you know who's the 20th pick in his draft? Cam Whitmore was the 20th pick in the draft. Multiple people start Cam Whitmore. He's a wild card. Put Cam Whitmore in. A lot of people clamoring for Cam Whitmore. The most popular person, much like the backup quarterback is the most popular person in an NFL city when the starter's not going well. The most popular person is the young player who can come in microwave style and get you 15 points in 8 minutes from chunking up threes up there. Cam Whitmore.
Cam Whitmore or, any of the various other guys that whether it doesn't mean you're looking at him as a starter for the future or anything, but in some respects, you got to look at Jaylen Green as, all right, man, you're not the guy that we need you to be right now. And we're not gonna worry about, obviously Udoka's not worried about how many minutes the Jaylen Green gets. He's not trying to be sure he gets a minimum number of minutes.
No.
But across the board, you got to go into this game throwing your depth chart and everything else out the window, and just the big man lineup is tricky because yes, they've been very, very effective with the big man lineup, but it's. How much can you get away with that? You can't worry about Steven Adams and how he's going to recover from this game. Tonight. You just got to go, hey, get to game 6 before you worry about whether Steven Adams has played enough or not, or too much or not.
Yeah, and figure it out. No, you're absolutely this. If I had to guess, I would bet a lot of money. Starting lineup's going to be the same tonight. It's going to be the same. It's going to be Fred VanVleet. He's not benching Fred VanVleet or not. The people saying start Cam Whitmore. That is a panic move. The Warriors have gone with a bunch of different starting lineups in this series because they've had to. You had Jimmy Butler out with a whatever it is, bruised pelvis or whatever it was. So they had to shuffle the deck in a couple of these games. Jonathan Kuminga started a game earlier in the series. He didn't play a single minute in this last one. They've had to do that. The Rockets have been fully healthy in this series. They've just had guys that have been wildly inconsistent in the way that they've played. It'll be the same starting 5 tonight. Think of the 5 guys that are in the starting lineup. None of them are getting benched. Jaylen Green, as bad as he's played, is not going to be benched. He will be starting. Fred VanVleet will start. Dylan Brooks and Amen Thompson and Alperen Şengün all still deserve to start. So they're not. The question is, do they feel so bereft of shooting right now, Seth? And they actually shot the 3 pretty well in the last game, mostly VanVleet, but they shot the 3 pretty well. Do they feel like that the second unit needs an injection of something from a Reed Shepherd or a Cam Whitmore? I would say one of the adjustments I would make wouldn't be either of those guys. I would give more minutes to Jabari Smith Jr. That he's only playing 20, 22, 24 minutes. I would give more minutes to him. He's been very good in this series when he's been on the floor. That would be my adjustment.
It's interesting that you brought up Jimmy Butler, being out and being injured, because some people, or at least one person, would contend that Tari Eason's actually better than Jimmy Butler.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. So let's hit this. And this raises all sorts of things, because we've in the last 24 hours, we've seen parents get involved. This actually goes back to this past weekend with Dion, but this is much more benign than that. This is just some social media smoke.
Well, you were mentioning with the other one outside the Rockets you'd be talking about is Tyrese Halliburton's dad going after Antetokounmpo
after the game last night. We'll hit that in a second. But what Seth is referring to, Tari Eason's mom Tari Eason, goes by Momster on Twitter. I love that. She's the Momster. Comment tweeted, Hater Central. That's the Twitter account.
That's the Twitter account. Which
at the Hate Central, blue check mark and all. The Hater Central.
This is where you go when you're just actually looking to get triggered.
Yeah.
When you go to Hater Central and you find something that triggers you.
Posted Tari Eason's stats from Game 4, the loss 2 nights ago. 17 minutes, 3 points, didn't hit a single field goal. It's got all the stats. It wasn't a good night for Tari Eason. Momster retweets it and says the following. He'd not only start on the Warriors, but he'd be their second best player, averaging 30 minutes. You unathletic MFs better pick on your own moms. Tell them to bring your pizza rolls and a drink downstairs. You look thirsty. You talk about hoop? I birthed a hooper. I wish her takes weren't so off. You know what I mean? Like he would not be the second best.
Right, I know. That's why I fully admire and appreciate her sticking up for her son. Now, the interesting part is that this is where they did go after her a little bit. They were going at by saying they didn't at her or anything, but it said at the bottom they said "Mama can't save you." They know Momster goes off on Twitter.
Yeah,
and I hope that. I would say I hope she's just having fun with it and she's just not genuinely triggered. But if you're bringing your son into anything, like that's you're not quite necessarily enjoying it.
She's out there a lot, man. I mean, this is not the first tweet you and I have read of hers on this show. It's not even the 10th tweet of hers we've read on this show. We've read her a lot.
The advice I give to athletes is I give that 10 times as much to athletes' parents. You're never going to win a war on Twitter when your son is an athlete or when you're an athlete yourself. There will, in a country of 300 million people, plus the international market, there's never going to be a moment in time, even if your son wins 10 straight MVPs, where he'll be universally loved and admired.
Yeah.
So just don't fight that fight because you can never actually win that fight if you care about it. If you don't care about it, you've already won.
That's right.
That's how you win. You just don't care about it, and then you've won.
What did you think of old man Halliburton's act last night at the end of that game? By the way, Pacers beat the Bucks 119 to 118 to close out the series. The Bucks were up 118 to 111 with under a minute to go in that game. Like they completely blew the game. So the Pacers and their fans, it was in Indianapolis, they're going crazy afterwards, and old man Halliburton walks out onto the court.
And gets into it. But it very much looked like Antetokounmpo was basically, it didn't look like he was trying to fight back or anything. It almost looked like he was trying to talk sense to Tyrese Halliburton's dad. His dad comes up and gets in his face.
Yeah.
And then Antetokounmpo afterwards had some very philosophical things to Halliburton. Hey, my dad was wrong.
Yeah.
Mr. Halliburton said I was wrong and apologized. I give him a pass. I give Mr. Halliburton a pass, although I know he should deeply regret it, and he does.
Yeah.
But it was,
There were two. Go find the video. If you're in the audience, go find the video. There were two visuals from this thing. There was right after the game was over and everybody's filing onto the court to celebrate, and old man Halliburton walks out with what looked to be like a jersey and was just sort of taunting Antetokounmpo with it, and Antetokounmpo is just standing there knowing, I can't assault this old man here because I'll get arrested. And then the two of them came together what looked to be a minute or so later, and they're doing, and old man Halliburton's like a foot shorter than Antetokounmpo, and they're doing that thing, and it looks like a poster for a boxing match where their foreheads are pressed against each other.
Yeah.
And they're saying things to each other. I hadn't seen the fallout that you had, Seth, or the aftermath where it sounds like everybody kind of came to their senses a little bit in this whole thing. That's good.
Well, and the curious thing to me was that I guess there were some people that were acting like Antetokounmpo was in the wrong there. Even as they were head-to-head, Antetokounmpo is just not that guy.
Yeah.
It looked like at any point did you really think Antetokounmpo was going to slug the old man or something?
No.
It really, to me, it looked like he was trying to make a point, I'm guessing, about this isn't, man, you don't need to be acting like this or behaving like this. And for Tyrese Halliburton to go after Antetokounmpo, his dad, to go after Antetokounmpo like that too. Antetokounmpo doesn't invite that kind of venom unless I've missed a bunch.
Who knows what the vitriol in that series was? If
did he wag a finger or something at some point towards the baseline?
Yeah, I'm guessing where old man Halliburton sits, that there's probably a lot more chatter that goes on throughout a 6-game or 5-game series, whatever. I think it's ended up being a 5-game series. Atenicupo, if you're going to go wave a jersey on the floor like 10 feet away from a guy like that, you're right. Atenicupo, if we're comparing it to like animals that you wouldn't want to like antagonize or whatever, like Atenicupo's like a giraffe. I don't think a giraffe is going to attack you. If that was Draymond Green, you may as well have been a matador holding out a red cape right there. Draymond Green would have belted the guy in the middle of the floor.
This is the opposite of I look at Antetokounmpo going at it with somebody's parent, and my immediately gut reaction. Like Matt Barnes, remember, very famously said something very disrespectful to James Harden's mom.
Yes.
James Harden's mom would go at players and yell at them and everything. Like, she was pretty lively and animated in the crowd. But Matt Barnes is a guy that, when I hear about Matt Barnes getting into it with a player's parent, I'm like, well, all right, it's Matt freaking Barnes.
Right.
Antetokounmpo is the opposite, Jim.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, Şengün just flat out, no, I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm coming after you, Draymond.
I was surprised how much love Şengün has been getting over the last 24 hours for the game that he played on what is it, Wednesday? On Monday night.
Yeah.
I guess in the box score, it looks like, he's 12 of 28, so he didn't shoot the ball well. He had 31 points and double-digit rebounds, so it was a double-double. Like, if you're just looking at it from 30,000 feet, I'm just surprised how many people are ignoring the fact that when Draymond was on the floor, Şengün was worse than a zero. Like, he was taking bad shots, missing easy shots.
It's very much because it's still so much better than what Jaylen Green has done. I think there's just that element to it where, man, the biggest sore spot right this moment is the way that Jaylen Green has played in 3 out of these 4 games, so that when somebody does something that looks good in the box score, but then also at the very least is something, then all right, well, hey, between these two, good job, Şengün. At least you're playing less like a young and timid player than Jaylen Green is. But I'm with you. The fact that he was so bad and still he was the timid version of Şengün, or including that final possession.
Yeah, I came away thinking more like, not that he scored 31, it's that he could have had 40 if he just made he missed so many easy shots that he made throughout the regular season. That's what was so disappointing. On a night where they needed him, like Jaylen was terrible. Payne and Pendergast with you. All right, so Rockets tonight, 6:30 start. Thank God, that'll be good. Did you see, Seth, Jonathan Alexander has a way too early 53-man roster for the Texans? I'm so mad he beat me to the punch on this. Jonathan, if you're listening, because my way too early one goes up tomorrow on the Houston Press, and I'm going to look like a copycat. I don't have the same 53 he does. He has John Mechie not making this football team right now. John Mechie, he's got the receivers. Yeah. The receivers making this team. I thought it was interesting. Obviously, you do a 53-man roster now. There's still a lot more moves that are going to get made. There's still probably 4 guys that aren't even in the building right now who might be on this team in week 1. So we understand that. I think it is an interesting exercise, Seth, from the standpoint of you do get a feel for which guys that have been part of this team for a few years now need to have their head on a swivel. Whose jobs are in danger. And Mechie was the biggest name that Jonathan had getting cut in this case.
And this is with 6 wide receivers also, that they're keeping a bloated wide receiver room, and John Mechie misses out because Xavier Hutchinson and Justin Watson are on the team. I think as it was last year when they had 6 receivers on the roster, a lot of this has to do with special teams. So, and then also maybe the recent history of getting multiple wide receivers injured all the time for the last couple seasons, that maybe you keep 6 around. Yeah, I think Xavier Hutchinson and Justin Watson and John Mechie are in a big trio right now of guys that really are in a battle to make the squad.
Yeah. Braxton Berrios, throw him in there maybe too. He's got some return ability also.
Oh, yeah, I wonder if Braxton Berrios would be the guy that when the Texans drafted Jaylen Noel probably thought, boy, here we go. Oh,
bingo.
Boy. He's a better receiver than, or at least as a prospect, they look at him as a better receiver than I am, and he's a returner as well. That Braxton Berrios has really got to show something to get up over that. I almost feel like if Jaylen Noel looks good as a returner in the preseason, then it's going to be really hard for Braxton Berrios to make the squad.
I agree. I agree with you on that. The Mechie gets cut. The other guys getting cut that have been part of this team for a few years now. Kurt Heinisch gone on the defensive line, and MJ Stewart cut out of what is all of a sudden a very deep safety room. Between Kalen Bullock, they trade for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Jimmy Ward is still in the building. They draft Jalen Reed. Depending on how you want to categorize Jalen Petrie, he's still probably listed on the roster. Just sort of the smoke and mirrors, clandestine nature of the injury that he had all year long, where it was this weird thing that nobody could get their arms around, it seemed like. Yeah. Or the fact that when he was healthy, finally, towards the end of the year, he just didn't play. Like
he didn't play
wasn't on the field.
And he came in and played a good chunk of snaps, and then I have to just guess, because if I remember correctly on the timeline of it, he came in and played pretty well in the first game, and then there was a fall off.
He played 82% of the snaps against the Dolphins in that first game back, which was one of the games Azeez Al-Shire was suspended for.
Yeah,
so there's no Azeez. Yeah,
but then there was kind of a drop off.
Yeah,
and I'm guessing that whatever the injury was a huge factor in all of it, because it just, I was encouraged by how he looked when he was on the field, and then there was just he wasn't being used at all.
But he was dressed. That was the weird thing. He's dressed, he's on the sidelines, and he plays 7 snaps.
Yeah.
It's just strange.
The biggest one there is Christian Harris. Okay, so Christian Harris makes the team. If for whatever reason, because of injury or otherwise, they just don't like him as much, then it's, okay, Jamal Hill is still a draft pick that has a lot of upside. He was very raw as a college player, and I didn't expect him to be a factor last year, but he is very, very athletic, and he's really still learning how to play the position.
Yep.
And Jake Hansen doesn't make the team, or the 53-man roster. He's a guy that I think it will still be around, and they like being able to win. In the Green Bay game, he played a bunch because of the injuries.
Jonathan points this out. He's like, I don't have Jake Hansen making the team, but I haven't had him making the team every year before. I'm paraphrasing, but every year before this, Jake Hansen always proves me wrong. He always ends up making the team.
But EJ Speed does make the roster, and I just want to point this out because a lot of people have said, hey, Seth, they gave EJ Speed a 1 year up to $5 million contract with incentives for games that he starts. Seems like they expect him to be a starter. No, that is a classic prove it type of deal. Yeah. And Darrell Taylor, the defensive end that started with the Seahawks and was with the Bears last year, he's got a 1 year $5 million contract.
Right.
That does not suggest or hint that he's going to start.
Nope. I'll tell you the weirdest thing about doing a 53-man roster right now, other than it's April, but it's specific to the Texans. This is the first time, I think, since I've been writing. I've been writing for the Houston Press since 2009. I think this is the first one I've ever done where I have not typed the name John Weeks. Not putting John Weeks in there that was something. The specialist, that was easy. Fairbairn, whoever the punter was, and John Weeks. And now there's a damn long snapper competition between this Tucker Addington guy and this Brinkman fella that they signed off the streets over the weekend. A long snapper competition.
That's probably the thing that brings NFL Network into camp.
Probably so.
There's some niche website out there that's
for long
probably
snap
got
fetish.
They've probably got a John Weeks roster on their jersey in the background. They'll be in Houston watching the long snapper battle.
Yep. The people reacting to the Mechie part of this. If you missed it, Jonathan Alexander's 53-man roster he did for the Chronicle has John Mechie not making the team. I'm not surprised. Texan fans are agreeing. Mechie is done. That's a text on the Jim Adler Texas Hammer text line. Bye-bye, Mechie. That's a smart man cutting Mechie. Boy, people have turned on John Mechie, Seth. The sympathy hourglass has run out of sand for John
There's almost
Mechie.
like all those feel-good stories last training camp about how he'd finally recovered from cancer treatment, people.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now we're going to treat him exactly like an actual, like it's just a normal football
Which he
player
has said he wants to be treated like. He has said
100%. Yeah. But I don't know.
This is what you asked for. This is what you asked for, Mechie. You wanted to be treated like a normal football player. The fans are turning on you. Yeah. I hope he makes the team, man. I hope he deservedly makes the team. How about that? A lot of Rockets chatter on the text line. The funny thing is a text. Funny thing, guys, is Cam Whitmore, being even younger than Jaylen and a bit of a wild card, is way more confident and way more of an alpha than Jaylen. That's the problem with Cam Whitmore and bringing him into a situation like this, is he will either shoot you into or shoot you out of this game while he's in there.
Ride it.
he ain't scared at all.
Yeah, I say, hey, we're in a position where you got to ride that. At the very least, hey, if the Astros come out again in the third quarter and they don't feel like scoring for the first 5 minutes of the quarter, then by all means, let's say 3 minutes to score points. Go ahead and just throw Cam Whitmore in there, please.
Text message. This is from somebody with ties to Kansas City. Don't sleep on Justin Watson. Heard from several football guru buddies in KC. Both immediately texted and said we got a steal when we got him. This is kind of a corollary of your thing, Seth, where the evaluation of guys, you're going to get the hardcore good evaluation of college players from people who watch players play for their school. I feel like Kansas City is the closest.
Likewise within the NFL, the guys that have been like, hey, keep an eye on this guy.
Yeah, Chiefs fans are a little like college fans, you know? Like, I feel like they've got a good gauge on Justin Watson. I like Justin Watson. When I've watched Chiefs games, Justin Watson always seems to make a play or two in those games.
He always does make a play or two. I guess that's his reliability and your ability to use him in doses would matter, because it's not like the Chiefs haven't had a bunch of situations in the last few years where they could use a better, an extra couple of receivers.
Right.
I mean, it's a testament to Pat Mahomes, some of the things that he's done when their receivers have been either traded away or injured, or they bring in various guys that are cast-offs from other teams. So I guess that's the part with Justin Watson that I'm always yes, I believe what those guys are saying, but I also got to remember, and it was Pat Mahomes throwing him the ball in those situations.
Yep.
He's had his career high for receptions is 27.
Yeah, like and that's what his role will be on this team too. To be clear, he's not coming in and getting 60 catches or anything. I Payne and Pendergast with you. Keep sending your opinions in on whatever it is we've been talking to. 4610. Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line. Up next, the trailer is out for a documentary that I am counting down the days towards, and I wonder if people here in Houston are as well. The audio works on radio. Take a listen. We'll play it for you coming up next. Men's
from the Mokaram Injury Lawyers Studios, Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast.
May 20th is the date. I'm documentary and the trailer, which we're going to play the audio from here. It's about a minute long. Fall of Favre. The trailer, Seth, I was already excited to see this documentary that was about all of Brett Favre's peccadillos after he got done playing football. A lot of it after he got done playing football. Some of it while he was still playing football towards the end of his career. Some of his time with the Jets where he got a little frisky with his cell phone, and taking pictures of himself and sending them to people he shouldn't have been sending them to, things like that.
So this is mostly about the end of his career and then post career.
Yeah.
Did they say in the trailer whether they address like the painkiller addiction early in his career?
They don't. No? In the trailer they don't. Not that. Let's play it here and we can see. I don't recall seeing that in the trailer. The trailer is mostly centered around Jen Sturger is the young lady's name. That's the lady, and you're going to hear her. She sat down for this documentary. So that's
she was the Jets the
game
writer
day
that covered this.
She was a game day host. She was the in-stadium host. Yeah, she was the girl at Florida State that got a lot of attention. Brent Musburger pointed her out at a game, and she was one of the first people to rise to viral fame. And she
but she's the one that Brett Favre sent the picture of his
his ding dong to. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So
the place that the bathing suit covers.
Yeah. So you'll hear her in this. They address the Mississippi welfare funds in this as well. Take a listen. Here's the trailer. Fall of Favre.
Everybody wish they could be an NFL quarterback. You get all the notoriety. You get paid off.
A cult-like, iconic figure.
People say he was a football god.
There are a lot of reasons why you might question Brett Favre's inner goodness.
Allegations that he sent lewd texts and photos to a New York Jet employee.
Brett Favre ultimately destroyed my life.
In the life of Brett Favre, not everything is what it seems. He starts to go through life thinking, I can do whatever I want. At what level does that stop?
I was at a game, and someone said Brett Favre wanted my phone number, and I just kept saying no. I started getting text messages. And then I started getting voicemails when I was like, oh, I'm in serious trouble here.
Had to come up with that.
Maybe we shouldn't be surprised that he got caught up in a federal welfare misappropriation scandal.
You take money intended for the poorest. I don't know how he sleeps at night.
People don't want most of that stuff to come out. People want their heroes.
When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
And there you go. That's the trailer for Fall of Favre. That's this is going to be interesting. I think it was Peter King who said that towards the end. Like, a lot of times people just, I'm paraphrasing what was said, but oftentimes with their heroes, people want to bury their head in the sand. They don't want to know all this stuff.
Right. No, and it's a little bit of just like, that's the part with Favre where, all right, there's the football side of things, and then, in a previous and bygone era, then you retire and you go off into the shadows and show up at a banquet every now and then.
Right.
That denying that any of these things are true or anything like that. There is a part of me, whether maybe this is a character flaw in myself, where I'm like, I just prefer, like, once a guy's been retired for 20 years or so, that I don't want to think about Brett Favre anymore. Yeah. Not to excuse anything that he may have done, it's as long as he just agrees to be part of the contract too and doesn't show up every Sunday on my TV screen, or whatever, what have you.
So will you watch this?
Probably not. That I don't think it'll be interesting. I've just got other stuff on my playlist.
You do?
I got to get to before I get to a Brett Favre documentary.
I will watch this. With popcorn. Brett Favre documentary.
This is the kind of thing. This is what I'm cautioning you against. I think it's going to be the kind of thing where you're watching it and you already know everything that's in the documentary. Okay. Remember the Astros, a lot of the stuff that came out of the Astros were, hey, we're going to, the book that came out about the Astros and about the garbage can era and all that. In the long articles, you read it and you'd be like, okay. It's like basically review before a chapter quiz or something if you've already lived through it. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, I will predict I will predict that you, after this, are going to say, oh, yeah, this is a reminder of all the dodgy stuff that Brett Favre has done, but there weren't any revelations.
You think it'll all be stuff that I know already? It'll all okay. Now, keep in mind, I didn't know what the river dance was yesterday. So
that's true.
You know,
but that was because that was one of those curious parts. You've got to accept some things that just curiously
have some weird blind spots,
because you remember so many sports things so well. There's some other things that there's no room for in your brain to get booted out.
The hard drive is not unlimited. So I think you're maybe so. It's like an hour. It's probably an hour-long documentary. I'm not. If it's a waste of time, it's a waste of time. You know.
You know what it is? I think that by and large, most NFL fans know that. All right, listen. Yeah, I've already. Brett Favre occupies a certain part of my brain, and I've already thought about those things, and I don't need to think about it anymore. That's how I feel about it. Like I'm not. Yeah, I know that he did a lot of really shady and dodgy stuff, and that's just kind of who he is.
No, I'll watch it. I'm guessing they're having watch parties for this in Chicago, Detroit, maybe Minnesota even, where he played some good football but blew their chance at getting to a Super Bowl.
Weirdly, some pockets of Green Bay perhaps as well.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah,
just like Aaron Rodgers, there's a complicated relationship with Green Bay and both those quarterbacks.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of people out there that dislike Brett Favre that will hate watch this thing for an hour gladly. So have you you and I think had said we were going to do this. Have you watched the Quincy Avery documentary yet?
No, I haven't watched the Quincy Avery, the quarterback's coach documentary.
Yeah.
I haven't. But it's a real quick cautionary tale for just people out there. The one thing that you can glean from the Brett Favre experience, when you're a middle-aged guy, and Brett Favre was the equivalent of a middle-aged guy in terms of quarterback years. If all of a sudden you find yourself in a different sound, just be on alert for your own. There's a lot of things that you've tamped down, perhaps in your personality that you forgot about or what have you, or you haven't been tested with it in a long time. Like it's been a long time since you were in a relationship, but also going out a lot and everything. And you just some of those guardrails for keeping your personal life in order, they're gone, and you got to be conscious of it.
Good advice.
I feel like Brett Favre, when he showed up in New York, it just felt like one of those classic situations. It's almost like you're a freshman in college
in New York.
Like, hey, no restrictions, and I got like, oh wow, I can do whatever I want at night.
Of all cities, right? Too like he's going from Green Bay, where everything closes at 9. Although he was probably able to keep some of the places open, I would imagine, with he's Brett Favre, to New York, which is the opposite end of the spectrum. No, it's a good point. Buy a book. Buy a book. Stay in your room. Buy a book.
Go to a Bible study or something.
Brett Favre
you got to fill in the free. You got to fill in the free time with something.
That's right.
And
All right. Payne and Pendergast.
So, as far as the quarterback documentary with Quincy Avery, I've not watched it yet. Did you?
No, I've not either. Okay. I've not either.
It's our weekend. That's all right. The draft was kind of occupying my attention the last couple weeks. Sorry.
Same. You're more interested in the Quincy Avery documentary than you are the Brett Favre documentary. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm not all that interested in either of them, really. But the problem with some of these documentaries used to be kind of they were held to a high money, and they just kind of they tried to keep almost a journalistic integrity about it. Where now so many of them are just they're like the subjects of the documentary are getting paid, and you see a polished version of everything.
Listen to you docu-snob. Oh.
Garrett Heinrich texted. He said, in quotes, "Leave retired athletes alone." Probably a guilty Seth Payne. That's what.
Seth is sticking up for his people. Retired
Don't go digging
athletes.
around these retired professional athletes' closets. Dang it!
Please. All right, Payne and Pendergast. People weighing in. Justin Watson's been to the last 4 Super Bowls. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why he's on the squad. He's been to the last 4. Yeah, because he was on.
Thanks, Ed Reed thinking that got us into that pickle.
Yeah. Is he going to get hip surgery in a couple of weeks? Thank you very much.
It is a good point in terms of trying to have as many guys as possible on a team that have championship experience.
Know what it looks like. Yeah.
There's an element there where I think those guys have kind of like a different set of expectations hardwired in, and that also because they can speak because they've been to the mountaintop, and they can tell guys that, hey, it's worth it, or hey, we've been through adversity and all this sacrifice and hard work, it's totally worth it. It is good to have as many of those guys as possible.
I think that's the reason C.J. Gardner-Johnson is on this team, because they did not have an acute need at safety, and they went and got C.J. Gardner-Johnson for about $9 or $10 million a year is what they're paying him. So I think that's why he's on the team. All right, this making around the internet, I don't know what we call it. It's made its way around the internet in the last 48 hours. We talked about it at the end of the show yesterday with the guys on In the Loop. One gorilla versus 100 unarmed men. Who would win? J.P. Hovey, who is part of the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, he has the list of 100 humans that he would recruit to try to win the battle to beat up one gorilla. The guys with Houston ties on this list, do they belong on this list? And his approach to this is really, really funny. We'll go through the list. See if you agree with us on this. 100 men or 100 people versus one gorilla. Which Houstonians would be on this list? Text in if you want to add some. Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line. We'll do that coming up next. Stay there. Berkeley Eye Center. Let's get you guys some 20/20 vision in the meantime.
Work.
KILT FM HD2 Houston. Insider access, exclusive content. Sports Radio 610. The Texans play here. An Odyssey sports station.
Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast.
All right, a couple things here before we get into 100 men versus a gorilla.
You guys have angered Sean and gotten him ready for this bout versus the gorilla.
Well, yeah, add me to the 100 men after reading. Well, it's the tone of text that people correct you with when they're incorrect. The first one, Pendergast, curious of the emphasis on the "och" in Kalen Bullock. That's how he pronounces his name. I don't know what you're implying, sir.
What are you
ma'am.
so curious about?
Right.
All of us had to be corrected because we were pronouncing it Kalen Bullock. And it's no, he likes it pronounced Bullock.
Pronounced Bullock. So if it's
I don't know what you're curious about, buddy.
Right. If it's curious that I'm pronouncing his name correctly, then I apologize. Multiple of you pointing out to me when I said that Jen Sturger was initially made famous by Brent Musburger noticing her on a broadcast have gone out of your way. I'll read one example. No, Sean. Musburger pointed out A.J. McCarron's girlfriend, now wife. It was not Jen Sturger. Sir or ma'am, and the rest of you who are pointing out that it was Catherine Webb, that's A.J. McCarron's wife's name. I'm assuming it's Catherine McCarron now, possibly. It was Catherine Webb, not Jen Sturger. I will point out to you that Brent Musburger, A, really likes pretty women. B, has done thousands of college football games, not just the national championship that involved Catherine Webb. He did point out Jen Sturger. It is possible for Brent Musburger to point out more than one pretty woman over the several decades that he's done college football. So I don't mind correcting you. It's the no, Sean, wagging your finger on the text.
Feel like if I said to somebody, hey, Sean really likes Raisin Bran. And they're like, no, Seth. Sean likes Cheerios. Oh, silly Seth.
Do you have more than one cereal in the holster, okay?
It's weird that more than one thing can be true in so many different aspects
Thank you.
of life.
Yeah, Brent Musburger is a bit of a perv. Like, he is pointed out. I think he's probably...
I'm not going to sit here and stand for all of you guys acting like he can't sound like a creepy old man versus multiple different women.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. The Bullock texter, I replied to him and said that's how he pronounces it, and I signed Sean to the text. He liked that text. So and he may have liked it before I tried to make an example out of him. So he may unlike it, but who knows?
Musburger did both of those.
Both of them, yes.
As soon as you said it, I anticipated all those.
You knew that was coming.
And I did nothing to stop it.
That's okay.
'Cause I didn't want to actually you on it would basically be me correcting a preemptively, which would be me being a actually guy.
Yes. It's all good.
And here we are.
It's all good.
Talking about it.
Yeah. So this gorilla versus 100 men. This was really funny yesterday. JP Hovey, who does Bussin' with Boys, guys, Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, very successful podcast, put together his list of 100 humans that he would gather to try and fight and beat up a gorilla. This has been making and this is where one of the greatest uses of AI have been some of the videos that have come out with this of a gorilla actually fighting 100 people. It's been pretty fun.
I think the biggest thing I've learned is that people underestimate what a mass of humanity or any kind of mammal can actually do.
Yes.
I don't give the gorilla a chance as long as you've got to be willing to die. Are those people? If it's a situation where, all right, the human race hangs in the balance, and you chosen 100 have to fight this gorilla, it would be no contest. The humans would win.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how many humans would die in doing it.
That's right. Yeah, you're basically soldiers at that point.
Yeah.
Now,
Me versus one tiny piranha.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Right.
Me versus hundreds of piranha. I'm hosed.
Right. So the tail of the tape here: a silverback gorilla can lift up to 800 kilograms, run 25 miles per hour, and has a bite force of 1,300 psi, which means that he can basically just break your bones with his mouth if he wants to.
Yeah.
And with a swing of his arm, can instantly kill a man with the force that he can hit with.
Oh, yeah.
With his arm.
They're incredibly. It's ridiculous how strong they are.
Now,
how built for football they are.
Yeah.
Their skulls. You look at a skeleton of a gorilla, and it looks a lot like that AI thing they did a few years ago.
Yes.
Of the ideal a person that would actually be built to play American football.
Right.
With a ridiculously thick skull.
cranium,
and massive bones and
massive
everything.
bones, big shoulders, good catch radius with the long arms.
Yes.
Now the opposable thumbs would be that would be you need those. I don't know that might be an issue.
Gorillas do have opposable thumbs.
They do.
So
Okay, good. Okay, there you go.
That's one of the great things about us apes. Yeah.
Yeah. These are the people with Houston ties that were part of the magical 100 that JP Hovey put together. There's 10 of them that have some Houston ties. The Undertaker, who is from Houston. He said The Undertaker would be the last person in. That would be the person to finish everything off. Steven Adams. Steven Adams would be part of this 100 people. This series has gotten very chippy, and I feel like Steven Adams has been part of chippy things before, like this season, where remember he got dragged to the ground by somebody in a game, and it was he kind of was cool about it. In his post-game press conferences in this series with the Warriors, he's been very diplomatic. I'm hoping that somewhere in there's a trigger for Steven Adams where, especially knowing it's Draymond on the other side,
It still feels a little bit, though, like Steven Adams might try to talk sense into the Gorilla beforehand.
Yeah.
That's where it would be immediately like, oh, come on, mate. And that Gorilla hand to the side of the face.
Right. Ron Artest, former Rocket.
100%.
Former Rocket. Yeah. But the author of The Malice in the Palace. When I say author, one of the guys who triggered the Malice in the Palace back
he stood up for
20
himself.
years ago.
Yeah.
That's true. That guy lobbed a drink onto him. He definitely should have run into the crowd and started a melee.
And hit the wrong guy.
Yeah. This was DJ Swearinger made the list.
Out of nowhere. Yeah. That was an impressive pull.
Yes.
Now DJ has played for like 10 different teams, so I'm guessing
he's been in one of the spring leagues. He's been in like the UFL, I think. I want to say.
Yeah, so I'm guessing Hovey here just has a fond memory of DJ Swearinger just go. Now, a lot of these guys so far are a little bit of, especially with Artest, with Ron Artest and DJ Swearinger, like those two guys especially are like, okay, we could trigger them in such a way that they would forget about their personal safety or anything. They would just want to go after the Gorilla no matter what.
This isn't one with Houston ties, other than I think the Texans would love to have had him on the team. He has Tyler Booker in his Tyler Booker. Do you think he could make the Gorilla? He could suck the love out of the Gorilla, loving to fight like he says he does other opposing defensive linemen on Saturdays for Alabama?
Right, yeah. He wanted to take away their joy of football and their love of football.
Yeah. Could he do that to a Gorilla?
Sucking the love out of the Gorilla would be one way to pacify him a little bit beforehand. If you,
as soon as
yes, I think that, Tyler Booker is the body type you're going for. Just a big, just a thick, massive dude.
Yeah,
you really need
small space. You don't need a lot of speed.
My strategy is to dogpile the Gorilla and suffocate him.
Right.
You just, which means that you want as much heft as possible.
Yeah.
And yes. 10 or 20 or 30 people are going to die while you do that, but just suffocate the Gorilla.
Yeah. There's people adding people to the list we'll get to on the Jim. I'll read this one. Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line. Someone added Jim Adler to the Texas Hammer. Yes.
The other, Andre Johnson, he is disallowed. He's too valuable to humanity.
Yeah.
So if these hundred brave souls have to fight the Gorilla to try to save all of mankind, you need Andre Johnson around afterwards.
Andre Johnson in Cortland Finnegan mode was on the list. There's four more, all either former or current Houston Texans. Jadeveon Clowney. According
to the internet, you only need him for one play.
One play,
so, just have him be the first guy out.
If the Gorilla has a helmet on, he can knock the helmet off of the Gorilla. Yes.
Yeah.
Vince Wilfork.
Mass.
Yeah, Mass.
Well, except he's not big anymore.
No, I don't think. I don't think
lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah, I don't think that Hovey knows that. JP Hovey knows that Vince Wilfork is much more slender. Brian Cushing.
I want to keep Vince Wilfork around to barbecue the Gorilla after we kill it.
Yeah, he's the celebratory, the celebration afterwards.
I want that Gorilla on a spit.
Yep. Brian Cushing.
Oh, that's a good one, too. Just anger and aggression and just, hey, if you want to go primal on a primate,
yes.
Brian Cushing is your guy.
And finally, athletes or people with Houston ties, Azeez Al-Shaair.
100%. 100%. The Gorilla would be whining about how he was trying to slide or something. And looking for the officials. Meanwhile, Azeez is just going ham on him.
If you got a personal foul as a Texan in a game against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the last 10 years, you're on this list. DJ Swearinger and Azeez Al-Shaair. There you go. Among the random some people that Miller posed. JP Hovey says one of the 100 people would be a random psycho defensive coordinator / history teacher from high school.
Oh.
Kind of the stereotypical, the hardcore football coach that teaches history on the side.
That definitely goes to his personal experience.
Yeah.
I don't think any of my is a history coach a standard football coach spot?
I think he's just bringing up your random high school subject. Yeah.
If you're going to go with an NFL coach, it would be like 31 of the 32 NFL special teams.
Yes. Yeah.
Brant Boyer, my friend who's a coordinator for the 49ers, would be awesome versus a gorilla.
Would he? Okay.
Yeah. He's got a deep hatred within him.
How do you think Frank Ross would do against the gorilla?
Oh, great! Yeah, he would be. He'd have a different style than Brant. Like he'd be a lot more sticking and moving. I think, and just trying to confuse the gorilla and tiring him out.
Yeah. Shane Gillis, comedic relief. He just wants Shane Gillis out there in the field making everybody laugh just to keep the spirits up. Yeah.
Well, one of Shane Gillis's go-to things is kind of like it looks kind of like a stupid monkey just kind of shrugging.
Yeah.
Like he just goes like like he could stand in front of the gorilla and mock him.
Yes.
And distract him while everybody attacked from the flanks.
Along those lines, there's 8 people that JP Hovey uses as bait, I guess, to try to distract the gorilla. Kris Jenner.
Kris Jenner could dangle a social media contract.
Yeah.
They'd be like, okay, I'm going to take you in and I'm going to make you a star.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, most of the rest of them seem to be people that JP Hovey just once did. Who bullied him in elementary school. Jared from Subway.
Oh, yeah.
Kim Jong.
I thought he was dead already.
No, I think he's in prison.
He didn't get killed in prison? Every time we bring up somebody like him or the
Sandusky.
Sandusky,
yeah.
and I Google, I'm like, surely that guy got killed in prison.
I'm the same way, dude.
No?
I'm the same way, yeah. Kim Jong-un and Putin, and then he said, please don't read this, sir. And then along the lines of what you're saying, Diddy, Harvey Weinstein, and R. Kelly. He's got on the list of people they'd use as bait for the gorilla. Okay, text messages coming in on this topic. Why is everyone attacking a gorilla? I hope he shreds everyone. Everybody die. 100.
Well, remember, humanity hangs in the balance, okay?
Yep.
This is us versus them. Don't act like if a gorilla had the same mental faculties that we do, that they wouldn't have killed us all already.
Right.
Like, let's not pretend here,
yes,
all right?
Yes.
Protect the species all you must. But when it comes to one individual SOB piece of crap gorilla that deserves to die, I'm all for killing him.
Right.
He deserves it, and you got to do it. Okay?
You're passionate about this. You're going to like this one. 100 Seth Paynes on meth versus a gorilla.
So 100 Seth Paynes is, yes, 100%.
You listen to this show, right? Oh, that's funny.
It was, 100. And then somebody feeds me bulletin board material from the gorilla.
Yeah.
Like some bogus bulletin board material.
Yes.
He said that offensive holding and nothing else. And then, is that right? Is that right?
Someone says, I'm cracking up. Sean's capable of pulling dates from decades ago, date, time, and location, but simple things like gorillas having opposable thumbs eludes him. These are the ABCs of me, baby.
This is one of the ones where just with gorillas in baseball, I actually fact check myself after I've corrected you because I'm like, all right, I'm pretty sure I'm right here, but Sean's smarter than me, so I gotta. So I did Google after I told you that primates have opposable thumbs.
Yeah,
I had to Google it and confirm it.
I've always thought they didn't for some reason. I don't know why.
Think about any other things you've seen of either gorillas or monkeys when they're sticking a little stick into a to get maggots out of a plant or whatever.
And let's be honest, it's awful hard to pleasure yourself if you can't move your thumb.
It's what's held all the other species.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they do in the zoo all the time. They're over there taking care of business. Prime time.
You know this from personal experience. That time that
broke my thumb
that
one
shark
time.
Broke both your thumbs.
It's the worst part about being a gambler. The worst part about being a degenerate gambler is there's big swaths of the year where you can't pleasure yourself. All right. Primetime Detroit and Ndamukong Suh. Would you send primetime Detroit and I don't know, man. Ndamukong Suh, it's one thing. No, I'm going to say no on this one. Ndamukong Suh was a dirty player. I don't know how tough he was. Stomping on guys' arms, kicking guys in the nards. He'll get eaten up in 2 seconds by the gorilla. There's no cheap shot. shots.
Well, though, too, this is no holds barred, so the kick to the groin, you got to go for it. So I think Draymond and Ndamukong Suh might be your best bets there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Ndamukong, you try to go after hitting him in the head with your spikes on, and Draymond will take care of the nargs. Average penis member, by the way, his dangler there, is at 1.1 inches on average. Yeah.
For a gorilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you can see, clearly they're compensating for things. That's why they're so damn,
for
sure. Why they're so damn angry so much of the time.
That's how I would start the fight.
Driving around in a $500,000 convertible, all that. Yeah.
That's how I would start the fight. If the gorilla were being a little too docile and not engaged, I'd be like, "You're hung like a grasshopper, okay, bro? All right, let's see what he does." Brian Brayman, someone is saying on the Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line. Brian Brayman doesn't mind playing without a helmet. Former Texan special teamer.
That's where cushion comes in, too. You want to be sure you can got guys that'll play through the being
head
bloodied.
trauma.
Yeah. You want guys that it doesn't matter. They got, like in a movie, the guy that gets shot 20 times and he's still coming at you. Yeah.
Multiple people saying Booker T. Booker T might be a little too nice to be in this thing, and I don't want Booker T to die either. I love Booker T.
Well, and he's I guess current age Booker T versus 22-year-old Booker T.
Still in really good shape, though, man. Like Booker.
Still in really good shape, but it's not quite the same as
as in his prime Booker T. No doubt. Yeah, no doubt about that. Got to get J.J. Watt in there. All right, where do you fall on J.J. Watt being in this gorilla versus men fight? How do you think he'd do?
Yeah, I think that would be a good one to go. Combined the mass. JJ would have to bulk up before.
Yeah.
Now, JJ says he's not that much lighter than his actual playing weight.
Right.
He's just kind of changed his workouts up so he's not so massive in the neck and all that. Yeah, I think JJ, but give him 3 weeks to start taking creatine again and get on a high-carb diet. Just really bloat up and get as much mass as possible.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at this text. Mahomes will zesty walk to distract the gorilla.
My ankle!
Gorilla! You-hoo, gorilla!
Look, I'm injured. I'm the weak one.
I'm
Come after
him.
me.
I'm him. Who has 2 thumbs in his him? This guy over here, zesty walking gorilla. Oh, my God.
His zesty injured ankle walk is the best zesty.
Oh, it's the best. Last one. We'll read some of them in the next segment. They're rolling in. The last one, put Sean Bijani in there. He already thinks he can take out Seth. You're in, Bijani.
Bijani's up at the front being like, what are these 99 guys here for?
Yeah.
I just, what the hell? This is, guys, this is, frankly, we didn't plan for this at the Victory Buffet. We got 2. We don't have enough plates for this. Get rid of half these guys at least.
Bijani goes to the DMV, and when you got to fill out height and weight, he puts 6'9", 286. Oh, we love you, Sean Bijani, just so you know. All right, Payne and Pendergast, keep texting in. These are very funny. People you would put, especially Houston, 100 versus 1 gorilla. All right, power rank. The power rankings are out. Jonathan Alexander, I will see your way too early 53-man roster and raise you a post-NFL draft power ranking of the power rankings. How do the experts view the Texans following the NFL draft? That is next. But first,
Payne and Pendergast is driven by West Point Lincoln of Sugarland on the Southwest Freeway. Exit Kirkwood and take the first U-turn at West Airport under the giant American flag.
Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast.
It's really interesting. The people, the listeners, the people that they want to throw into the 100 thing.
Yeah.
Is it? Most of it are serious answers of people who they think would stand a chance. And then I would say that's like 85%. The other 15% are people they just hate that they want to throw in to get their faces ripped off by the gorilla.
Right, those are the people that go in first.
Yes.
The ones that soften them up a little bit.
Yes.
I would have got the other option too, I think, is if you go opposite of where most people go is where they're pointing out people with a lot of size and strength. I would say a collection of horse jockeys and male gymnasts.
Yeah.
Just to have jump on his back and try to tire him out, and bull riders,
yes,
who also tend to be smaller, strong strength to weight ratio type guys.
There you go. We'll read some more of your texts in just a second. So after the draft, how are the experts feeling about the Texans? Have they made any significant headway in how the experts feel about them? Power ranking of the power rankings post-draft. We'll start with NFL.com and Eric Edholm. I've got 4 power rankings here, Seth. I've got NFL.com, I've got Yahoo, I've got The Athletic, and I've got, who's the 4th one that I've got here? I've got Bleacher Report. So those are the 4 that I was able to find. Eric Edholm, you are ranked 4th out of 4. Why? You have the Texans all the way down at 14, sir. We will not tolerate this. We will not stand for this. We will not stand for this. Here's what he says. The Texans struggled to take the proverbial next step last season as the O-line and receiver groups crumbled. They've laser-pointed those 2 areas of the roster this offseason, with the draft being an extension of that. I've nitpicked a few scramblers, he says, but and Eric Edholm, by the way, is a draft guy. Like, he is a big draft guy. The overall approach came from a logical place. Now it's just a matter of sorting out the pecking order at those positions and determining if Houston has enough firepower defensively, to hang with the big boys of the league. That was me adding the question mark there. The pressure is simmering again on C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans to bring this team back to the lofty expectations we had a year ago, and I think they can handle it. Yet he's got them at 14.
Well, it's interesting that he would question the defensive firepower specifically, to use that phrase, because by and large, the actual big play ability, the Texans have loads of that.
Yes.
They've got two excellent edge rushers. They in the secondary, they pick the ball off a lot. They were second in the league in interceptions last year. It's more that defense. The one biggest thing that they're really missing is the number of big plays that they allow. Mm-hmm. That's where they were bad last year. It's hard too when the offense isn't helping you out. But a lot of the deep shots and some of the missed tackles were more of an issue than anything. But they've got plenty of firepower. They've got plenty of big play ability. This is what I've realized too in the offseason as I've thought about things is. The offense last year was much worse than we expected or they should have been. The passing attack did not get going based on what you saw in the preseason. And we knew that before 2 of the starting 3 wide receivers got injured. But that's for 2 years in a row now, the Texans have been eliminated in the playoffs with just Nico Collins and not much else in the receiver corps.
That's right.
That they've been very undermanned. And just if you're 2 draft and if Christian Kirk can stay healthy, that alone makes you a much better team in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And that's because it's if you start saying, well, look, they're banged up with the receivers against the Chiefs, it's not a completely valid excuse because they weren't a good offense when they had all their healthy wide receivers, but it makes it that much harder. So that's the wide receivers are one of the big missing things from both these last postseasons.
Yep, agreed. The third on the power ranking of the power rankings out of 4 would be Bleacher Report. And the analyst's name is Gary Davenport. Gary, I've never heard of you before, but you have the Texans at 10th. And therefore, sir, I respect you. I'll take anything in the top 10. Here is the analyst's take on the Houston Texans. A reset became necessary in Houston after the Texans and C.J. Stroud took a slight step back in 2024. Stephon Diggs and Laramie Tunsil are gone. The Texans brought in veterans Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, and Trent Brown to solidify the O-line. Meanwhile, the Day 2 draft additions of Jaden Higgins and Jaden Knoll reshaped the team's wide receiver room around Nico Collins. this fall Houston should look more like the team in 2023 than they did in 2024. Do you think this offense looks more like the 2012? I don't know that it looks like either of them if Nick Caley's vision is, we don't know what it's going to look like.
Well, and again, the Texans' offense in 2023 wasn't actually a genuinely good offense.
Correct.
It was a very promising offense. And, frankly, they need to look better than 2023, but more, look offense, which was better than the 2024 offense.
Yep.
It's the really uncomfortable thing about all of this is a lot of it just does hinge on whether Nick Caley is definitively a better offensive coordinator than Bobby Slowick.
Yep.
And we don't get the answer to that until September and October of next year.
Till week one,
That's a frustrating and tough part about any of this is that we just don't know until we see what we have in Nick Caley.
It is. I choose to exercise blind faith and just maintain a good mood throughout training camp. That's going to be my hope.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's not that uncomfortable for me, but it's uncomfortable when people ask me to give my assessment of, okay, how much better has the offense gotten? And I just have to say that thing which has been scientifically proven that men hate to say, I don't know.
Right.
Which, hey, ladies in the audience, by the way, here's a tip for you. There are studies that show that men really just hate saying, I don't know. That's why we end up mansplaining things that we don't know anything about. So if you ask your man a question and he says I don't know, just leave it alone.
Yeah, man.
Because it takes effort for him to say I don't know. So then if you just ask the question again expecting some different response, you're just opening the door to him either getting angry or making something up completely.
That's right.
It's the second question after he's already admitted that he doesn't know.
Yes.
Or he's asked for directions or whatever it might be. Don't put him in that situation of having to say it again.
Him saying I don't know is him doing his best in a weird way. Like he's doing his best by saying I don't mansplain. You're exactly right.
So every time somebody asks me that question, I'm like, I said I don't know.
I don't
know if Nick Caley's any good or not. I hope he is.
That's right. Well, you got 5 more months of it coming up. Be ready, buddy. Number 2, power ranking of the power rankings, The Athletic and Josh Kendall, who also has the Texans 10th. He's second. Why is he second and Bleacher Report third? I find the Athletic font that they use to be much more friendly on the eyes than the font that the Bleacher Report uses. Here's what he says about the Texans. Houston wins the Weirdest Weekend Award after not only selecting 2 receivers from Iowa State in its first 3 picks, but also drafting 2 Jaylens. 2 Jaylens with an I, 1 Jaylen with an E, and 1 Jaden. With the additions of pass catchers Jaden Higgins and Jaylen Noel, Houston likely is signaling that it doesn't expect Tank Dell to return from injury this season. The Texans also drafted mammoth Minnesota offensive tackle Ariante Ursery in the 2nd round. So there you go. Pretty basic analysis there. And he's the first one to point out that they drafted way too many names that are going to confuse people, especially you.
The Athletic has so many good articles, and it's by far, I think, one of my best bang for the buck of anything I buy.
Easily,
yes. Like, I spend more time on The Athletic than I do on Netflix, probably, and I pay less per month.
Right.
And yet, the problem is whenever I try to show some love to one of the Athletic writers, because they're owned by the New York Times, it comes up as a link to the New York Times, and immediately it becomes political in the replies.
Yeah.
Like, listen, they're largely, as far as I know, they're just still sports weather by the New York Times.
That's
so however
right.
you feel about the New York Times, I'm not trying to force my political takes down your throat. It's a good sports article, damn it.
Yeah, it is. Last one, the winner, the number 1 ranked outlet for the power ranking of the post-draft power rankings, Yahoo and their analyst Steve Serby, who has the Texans 8th in the, not 10th, inside of the top 10. Inside 10. Yeah. Give it to me 2 more times,
Let's
Jaylen.
do it. Let's do it.
Yes. 8th, here's what he says. Short and sweet. C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins welcome Jaden Higgins and Jaylen Noel with Stephon Diggs in New England and Tank Dell rehabbing, but will the offensive line cooperate? Dun, dun, dun. That is the big question.
Cooperating amongst themselves, the offensive line. That's the big key. No more of this guys being on different pages or in different universes on any given play. Yes.
You know who the power rankers are not impressed with thus far,
Who?
at least the draft? The Magnificent Gladstone. In the 4 outlets I just outlined, the Jags are 29th, 25th, 30th, and 24th. Good for you 4 power rankers to not be snowed under by all the big words that the magnificent Gladstone, the Maggie G, is dropping on all of you.
They're not even big words; they're annoying words.
Yes,
they're buzzwords. It's it's not like you got to go to a dictionary. It's
Right.
just that this is on my Gladstone glossary so far.
Yeah,
modes of operation.
Yep.
Singular touch points.
Yep.
Intangibly rich.
Mm-hmm.
Sourced intel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And be a fighter, not a fencer. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're adding to it.
Oh, yes,
seemingly
we
every
are.
day.
Yes, we are. That thing's not going anywhere. People that they would add, people that our texters, our listeners would add to the 100 men versus 1 gorilla fight. 100 Mike Tysons on coke. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said.
Well, that's just listen.
Tyson is on the list. I think that Hovey.
Yeah,
had.
can we keep this conversation serious though? Like you're leaving the realms of reality when you say 100 Mike Tysons.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
don't lack the technology or at least the willingness to go beyond ethics to clone human beings yet. Okay,
Yes.
so it's just let's be realistic here in our discussion about 100 human beings fighting a gorilla.
A couple people said Brock Lesnar. He was on the list that that JP Hovey put together. Mad Max, Vernon Maxwell is getting some love on here. Yes, Vernon. Now maybe Vernon in his prime, although Vernon still looks like he's in pretty good shape. He's not put on.
Cut him up on Twitter real good.
Yeah,
that's what he would do.
He is good on Twitter. You
have to have Vernon Maxwell live tweet it.
Yes,
that's how you get that. That's how you get the gorilla.
Yes,
and hopefully the gorilla reads his mentions.
Yeah,
Get into his head a little bit with some Vernon Maxwell.
Someone's asking if Mark Gastineau is the producer of the Brett Favre documentary. That was an uncomfortable interaction for sure. All right, keep sending in your men versus gorilla takes on there. I do wonder this. There was one quarterback not named Shadur Sanders who slipped in this drug over weekend, changes the way that college quarterbacks approach the declaration of going to the NFL. We will discuss that coming up next.
Hey, change your approach to your property